Hello, Jim Distortion doing a daily short for Distortion's Got Issues on YouTube. Yes, YouTube. Um, Vulnerability, contempt, worry, fear, as well as happiness, surprise. All of these things are emotions, and if you were to take any single one of those and go too far with each emotion, you can't have a balance. You can't sit or achieve a plateau where you can consider all sides of a situation, without hate, without fear, without disgust, without contempt. If you've gone too far down a road with any emotion, even happiness, then how can you look at things on a level playing field? How can you consider your options when one emotion is driving you, maybe even two emotions are pulling you in one direction? So you can't actually see the reality of a situation. So look, let's look at fear, okay? What's your biggest fear? What fear drives you away from something? Okay, I've got two examples of this, right? You know that I'm a metal worker. I make metal furniture as well as the tattoo shop. Now, if I'm afraid of a job, right, and let me quantify that. If I have a job that I'm not quite sure how to do, or seems daunting, or maybe beyond my limits, yeah, then maybe I'm in a situation that is fearful for me. So therefore I avoid it. And I know I do this. I mean, it's learnt behaviour. I've done it all my life. I remember there was a school play and I hadn't learnt my lines and just really didn't want to be part of it because maybe I had to wear a costume that made me feel uncomfortable or something. I can't remember what it was. But that fear pushed me to a place where I remember it actually made me ill. And I didn't do the play. I wasn't the strong man in the circus. I think that was what it was at Wells Cathedral School. Wells Cathedral Junior School, yes. Full of churchy things, yes. So that fear was tangible. That fear, I went down a rabbit hole of being frightened of that situation. So that emotion was taken so far, it actually physically made me ill. But that gave me the excuse I needed not to do it. So how strong are emotions? How much can they get in your way? The other thing I'm afraid of is spiders. I hate spiders. If you show me a picture of a spider, yeah, then I'm going to recoil from it. If you're going to want me to talk about spiders, my fear of that will stop me from being rational about them. They're horrible creatures. I cannot understand why they're on this planet. They've got every right to be on the planet just as much as I have, right? But my fear creates an irrational thought about them. Now, if you disgust or you feel disgust about a situation, right, just on a puerile level, right, you feel disgust at people that do crime. Now, that's a massive genre, and crime is crime, and society dictates what's a crime and what isn't, okay? And we've all bought into that on a puerile level. I did say this is puerile, right? So basically, we have a certain amount of disgust mixed with contempt for criminals, on a societal level, okay? So we can also take that way too far. These people should be hung, these people should be stamped on, these people should go to prison, and it's all blah, blah. Right. Like I said, morality of a situation is not changed by circumstance, right? I've established that in a past show, okay? But sometimes somebody who's done like a burglary with aggression, like i.e. a burglary with assault, yeah, who's hurt someone, is not quite as damaging as somebody who's just broken into a house to feed some habit because they've fallen down the heroin rabbit hole. Do you see what I mean? So, but my disgust of them for doing that, I would then put them on a level playing field because I've gone too far down the disgust and contempt trail. Yeah, so fear, disgust, contempt, worry, vulnerability. Say I'm very vulnerable about something, so I don't know, I'm not a very vulnerable person. But for instance, your fear has made you vulnerable because you're fearful of society, you're fearful of being involved with decision making, or, you're fearful of people because people are assholes. All of these emotions drive your life. And if you're really lucky in life, all of your emotions are kind of balanced. Yeah, it's a seesaw effect with everything, right? There are also people who take happiness to such an extent, right? Oh, it makes me want to scream. Okay, I know two people I don't know them very well, but I know them well enough to know that their outward persona is that I am happy all the time. My life is glorious and I'm having an amazing time, right? This is a defense mechanism, because while you're portraying that absolute happiness, nobody can touch you. Nobody can get near you, because one, happiness in that direction revolts a lot of people. Yeah, you find yourself thinking, Jesus Christ, no one's that happy. What are you doing? Or you just dismiss them because they're obviously insane. Nobody's that happy. Okay, so the happiness being an emotional blanket, an emotional shield from reality. Yeah, that again is negative to anything, because I can't take someone seriously if they grin like a Cheshire cat the whole time and don't seem to have problems, when I know full well that their life is just as problematical and just as, evilly pitted with badness and goodness as everyone else's. When you next get involved in a situation and you find yourself like spinning towards anger, or even if it's a situation that makes you overly happy and laughing and joking, right? Have a little step back from that, because that's probably the easiest thing to do. Is if someone puts you in a situation where they're flattering you because they want something, they'll make you happy. Criminals are really great at this, right? Confidence tricksters. I've met a lot of criminals in my life, and arguably I've been one. But if you look at the best people who are in positions of power in criminal organisations, or organisations that are perceived to be criminal, they are always polite, quiet, studious. They think before they speak, and they only speak when they've got something to say that will further their agenda. And the reason they do this is because the loudmouth braggarts, the violent bullies, are the ones that get nicked, the ones that go to prison. The real gangsters, if you like, the real criminals are the clever ones behind the scenes that don't draw attention to themselves. You'll never know who the main player is in a game, and if you do, they're going to get nicked, and you're an idiot, for believing them. The reality is, that people who consider every angle for an agenda can twist you around like a puppet if you can't see it. So if anyone's flattering you to get into a situation and it doesn't feel right, then step back and think, what are you doing? I don't know you. Why are you flattering me? Why are you making me smile and putting me in a situation where I think I want to trust you? Trust is a strong thing to do, man. I've been burnt so many times, right? And I honestly say this, I've been burnt by a whole organisation of criminals, okay? Because they flattered me, because I needed to hear what they were saying at the time, and they could obviously see it. I think emotions need to be balanced. So if you're overly sad as a human being and you have depression issues, don't always reach for a pill bottle. Maybe have a little look and see if you can talk yourself, or with the use of your friends, if you can talk yourself around to seeing the reality of a situation. I have no rights to talk about depression or cause and effect or pills or medication or ways out of it, right? But I've been part of it. Members of my family, were depressed to such a point where, they had good reason, and I'm not going to go into that, but I've been around it all my life. And, I've been in relationships with that as well, and you get to know the signs of it. But sometimes, if you can pull emotion out of the way, maybe you can self-diagnose a little better, and then not go to the doctor and go, I don't know what to do, pills, and all of that. Because all of these antidepressants that everyone's on, that cannot be good, right? The whole of society could be guided, if you like, by a pill. People feel emotions because they need to. They feel emotions because they are put in situations day in, day out that then control how their life unfolds. Choices shouldn't be made on emotions, but of course they are. So if you find yourself being dragged down a direction you're not sure about, take a step back. Always take a step back and think about everything in that situation. Why are you being flattered? Why are they being nice to you? Are they genuinely nice? If they are, cool. Call them on it. Ask people. That's the other thing I wanted to say about this. If someone's pushing your emotional buttons, take a step back and ask them why they're doing that. Because people know if I get apoplectic with rage, yeah, then they've won that. You know, they can say anything, and I'm not going to focus on anything. I'm not going to agree to anything. But you know, if you put me in a position where my emotions have taken over, I'm no good to anybody. Neither's anybody else. I don't know. I don't know whether it's achievable. I don't know whether we can balance our emotions, because I am still angry, sad, happy. You know, at different times, all the time, with different ways. I have highs and lows. You know, I have the troughs and manic, behaviour that you would link to depression. But to be fair, I don't feel I need pills. I just need to know that I can see when I'm in my situation of mania, where I can see that and I know what's coming. So you kind of try and take your emotions out of it, put yourself in a position of calm, and think about what's coming. Just an idea. Before you reach for a pill bottle, maybe analyse what's going on around you. Maybe see what your triggers are for those emotions as well, and why those emotions are being triggered. Something to think about. Press the subscribe button. Press it. You'll get me every day talking to you. This one's gone on long enough. Instagram, Distortion's Got Issues. Come see us. Come and drop a picture. Come and comment on something. If you want to leave comments as well on my YouTube files, that's great. People are starting to comment. People are starting to argue or agree. If you don't agree with me, say so, right? Because that will then start a conversation. And as I've said, I want to be a conduit for conversation. Talk to you tomorrow.